Okay, I think we will go ahead and begin now. Again, thank you everyone for joining us. My name is Verda Albelda. I am in the business development team here at FreeMind, and today I will be presenting to you non-dilutive funding opportunities for cancer research and development. Pleased to be presenting today's webinar. It's the final webinar of this year's FreeMind Summer School. We'll have a list on the next slide, all of which are now available on our YouTube channel. To learn more about FreeMind, you can visit our website, freemindconsultants.com. And to keep up to date on the latest in non-dilutive funding, you're welcome to follow us on Twitter and YouTube, as well as join our LinkedIn group, Non-Dilutive Funding for Life Sciences R&D. At the end of the webinar, we will have some time for Q&A. You can enter your questions in the question window on the side of your screen. And you're also welcome to call or email me directly with any questions you may have specific to your situation or science. My contact information will be available on the last slide of today's presentation. As I mentioned, today is the the final installation of our summer school series. Here's the list of those completed. Again, they are available on our YouTube channel, FreeMind Group, or you can contact me for the link. A little background on the FreeMind Group for anyone who may not be familiar with us. The FreeMind Group is a consulting firm specializing in non-dilutive funding. Actually, we are the largest of our kind and the global leader in non-dilutive funding. Our main objective is to help our clients get as much money as possible from non-dilutive sources. And we've been doing this for 16 years. We have, actually we're up to 50 full-time employees now. We work with clients across the board in life sciences, from small startups to large pharma, academics, research institutes. On behalf of our clients, we do submit approximately 350 to between 350 to 400 applications a year. So it's a great deal of experience, knowledge, and expertise, which is all put to work for our clients to increase their chances of winning. And the way that we do this, we're basically a tool for you to use to maximize your funding potential. When we first start working with a client, we help in identifying the most relevant funding opportunities. We work with you in a strategy to maximize the application's chances of award. We're relevant. We will help you with managing complex project production processes. We lead joint application writing. We don't write the applications for you, but we work with you to make sure that each application is the best one it could be. Where relevant, we support final contract negotiations. Now on to what we're here for. There are many different sources of funding available to support research and development in life sciences. The NIH is actually the main source of funding, with its budget at over $30 billion. Across the board, there's about $50 billion available. And just looking at the NIH, about $26 billion are devoted to extramural research, research done outside of the NIH itself, such as research project grants, R&D contracts. And so that's a large part of what we're going to look at today. Specifically looking at the National Cancer Institute, the NCI, you can see that it's been fairly consistent here in the $5 billion range. There was a slight drop in 2013, but it's definitely heading back up. And you may ask, why does the NCI have such a large budget? If you're looking at the healthcare burden associated with cancer, it's pretty clear why there's so much money allocated for cancer research. This chart comes from a study that was done in 2010, so there has certainly been some increase, but you can see that the total national cost for cancer care in 2010 was $124 billion and is projected to reach at least $158 billion by the year 2020. It's calculated in 2010 dollars. Assuming a 2% annual increase in medical costs in the initial and final phases of care, the projected 2020 cost increased to $173 billion, and with an estimation of 5% annual increase in these costs, the projection is raised to $207 billion. So that's a lot of money that's going out for cancer care, and I think we can have a fairly good understanding of why there is so much money that's going into the funding the research. Here's a breakdown of some numbers, some of the funding that has gone out. There's $676 million in clinical trials, but please note that these figures are not mutually exclusive. So the clinical trials just covers all types of cancer, all the trials that have been done. And if we go back, let's go back for a second to the previous slide. You can see that the breast cancer cost was at $16.5 billion. So that does show why breast cancer does have over $550 million going to further research in that area. And the others are nothing to sneeze at either, with close to $300 million going to research in lung cancer, over $250 million in prostate, and on and on. And please keep in mind that this is just a screenshot of the funding going to some of the types of cancer. There's definitely a long tail as indicated there, and also these are figures from 2013, where the total budget for the NCI was close to $4.8 billion. Now it's almost exactly $5 billion, so there's definitely funding out there. For a positive number, I've shared here a graphic I found that shows that from 1992 to 2014, we've actually doubled the number of survivors, so keep up the good work, guys. Okay, now there's basically two ways to go about receiving funding from the NIH, through a solicited route and unsolicited, or investigator-initiated. And in cancer especially, it's a very interesting situation because, as I'm sure you're all aware, there's not only so many different types of cancer or even different families of cancer, there are, of course, also different areas of research. So it is nearly impossible to have a specific solicitation for each of those different areas of interest. In order to circumvent that issue, there's a strong utilization of the omnibus solicitation or parent announcements for investigator-initiated research. So you're not looking for a specific solicitation that's exactly aligned with the type of cancer, the type of research, the stage of research, or even the general area of research. They're looking at it overall and in a very general, broad area. Through the investigator-initiated mechanism, you're presenting your science to the NIH, and programs, and these programs here are NIH-wide. They're not limited to the NCI. Okay, so we have here the R01, generally funded up to $2.5 million over 5 years. SBIRs, STTR mechanisms, I'm sure many of you are familiar with, and we'll touch upon them. But I'm not going to go too much into depth on the different mechanisms other than how they relate to funding R&D in cancer. You are more than welcome to visit our YouTube page. We do have webinars specific to the SBIR, STTR mechanisms, and to R01s and R21s. Just an interesting figure to share. In 2013, 82% of R01s that were being paid out by NCI were investigator-initiated, as opposed to only 18% that had specific solicitations. Also, I do want to mention that R01s can be used to fund clinical trials. So if you're in the clinical stage, that's something that you can look at. I think that the most important thing here is that you keep in mind that the omnibus solicitations are very valuable mechanisms, and even if you don't find a specific solicitation that exactly fits your science, there's probably money out there, and this is one route that you can take in order to achieve that funding and access those funds. All right, let's start with a couple of examples of funding. Let's start with exploratory stage. So the R21s, I mentioned them briefly, but I didn't have them in the earlier slide, and that is because while R21s are can be omnibus, the NCI actually has their own separate R21 that's not included in the standard R21 that's NIH wide. The budget is $275,000 in direct cost for up to 2 years. And as an R21, they are looking for exploratory developmental research, high risk, high reward. They're not afraid to take risks. So if you have a really innovative, groundbreaking idea in the early stage, even without any preliminary data, although if you do have, we certainly recommend you add it, but if you don't, that's okay too. So it's definitely a good mechanism to look at. And well, so this has actually recently expired, but we are expecting to have a new solicitation reissued in November. So keep your ears and eyes open for that. And actually, just to give you an idea of what's going on, there's 363 NCI Omnibus R21s currently being awarded. So, like I said, definitely a good mechanism to look at. If this is your stage of research, take a look at what they're looking to fund, see how it matches up with what you're working on, and go for it. Looking at a few solicitations in general areas of research within the cancer field. Let's start with technology and assay development. A great opportunity is IMAT, Early Stage Innovative Molecular Analysis Technology Development for Cancer Research. And their R21 is an interesting program with a lot of potential, looking for really groundbreaking novel technologies, ideas that have potential to significantly affect and transform investigations. They're looking specifically to enhance research in the areas of cancer biology, prevention, diagnosis, treatment, control, epidemiology, and/or cancer health disparities, again, specifically in molecular analysis technology. The budget here is $500,000 in direct costs for up to 3 years. It's a pretty high budget for earlier stage funding and a great opportunity to pursue if this aligns with what you're looking for. The deadline is September 22nd, so it's next month, but it is expected to be renewed afterwards. We have another IMAT, Innovative Molecular Analysis Technology Development for Cancer Research and Clinical Care. So related to the previous one, however, this is an SBIR. So the difference here, other than that it's an SBIR, is that it's looking to help move you towards commercial development. Budgets here are up to $225,000 for phase 1 and up to $1.5 million for phase 2. Also, you'll notice here that the deadlines are not standard. They do only have 2 a year, and the next one is in November. If you miss that, you'll have to wait until next May to submit, so take that into consideration when you're working out your strategy. Okay, moving into opportunities in nanotechnology. Here is an opportunity on innovative research in cancer nanotechnology, or IRCN, which is a UO1, a collaborative agreement. In this case, the funding agency would be more involved, more hands-on, in touch with you throughout the process. This award is designed to enable multidisciplinary research and transformative discoveries in cancer biology and/or oncology through the use of nanotechnology, with funding of $450,000 per year up to 5 years. So that can be up to $2.25 million. Again, if this is your area, certainly look more in depth at what they're looking for, and if it's relevant, definitely pursue it. The deadlines here are non-standard. The next one is October 15th, but it only comes twice a year. So after October, you're going to have to wait until April to try again. And please note that this does not support clinical trials or in vivo studies in human subjects. Moving on to molecular diagnostics, imaging, and biomarkers. Looking at imaging and biomarkers for early cancer detection in R01 with standard budget, $500,000 a year in direct costs up to 5 years, but not the standard deadline. The next deadline will be December 11th. And here they're looking to fund applications that combine imaging and biomarkers in order to improve cancer screening, early cancer detection, and diagnosis. Definitely a good place to look if that is what you're working on. Next, we have an academic industrial partnerships for translation of in vivo imaging systems for cancer investigations. This is a standard R01, but you do need to have an academic collaboration here, or if you are an academic, an industry collaboration. And this is one of the awards that does support clinical trials. Many of the others that we're touching upon do not. However, it does not support commercial production. They want to, they're looking for partnerships that accelerate the translation of in vivo imaging, image-guided, and/or spectroscopic systems and methods designed to solve targeted cancer problems. Standard budget of $500,000 a year, direct costs up to 5 years, and the next due date is October 5th. So that's coming up quick. Okay, here we have validation of molecular diagnostics to predict patient outcomes using specimens from multi-site cancer trials. This is in R21, so it's looking at earlier stage research, budget of $275,000 over 2 years, and standard deadline on October 16th. What they're looking for here is to advance the transition of candidate biomarkers from initial correlative observations into diagnostics, and they also want you to use tumor specimens linked to specific treatment and clinical outcome information. If this is what you're working in, perfect. If you're a little bit more advanced in the field, there is an R01 that a parent solicitation that supports the same work at a later stage with a higher budget and longer terms. So it's $500,000 a year for up to 5 years. And what they're looking for here is to engage investigators into fully developed validation research projects using multi-site trials. Please note both of these do have standard deadlines. The R21 on October 16th, the R01 on October 5th. Now, here's an R01 issued together by the NCI, but together with the NIBIB, National Institute of Biomedical Imaging and Bioengineering, in image-guided drug delivery in cancer. They're looking to fund image-guided drug delivery, including real-time image guidance, monitoring quantitative in vivo characterizations, and validation of discovery and response. A very good opportunity to pursue if this is your area of research. Keep in mind, this is a non-standard deadline, November 19th. Actually, the last deadline on this opportunity, but it is expected to be renewed. So definitely, if try for November 19th if this is what you're working on. If not, like the others, keep your eyes and ears open. It's likely to be reissued. So this is a very interesting opportunity here, utilizing the PLCO biospecimens resource to bridge gaps in cancer etiology and early detection research. It is a UO1, so it is a collaborative agreement. But more interestingly than that, they're looking to advance research in cancer etiology and early detection biomarkers by utilizing the advantages of the unique biorepository resource of the NCI-sponsored prostate, lung, colorectal, and ovarian cancer screening trial, PLCO. So they're basically providing you with the resources you need to support your research. They're giving you access to their biorepository, to the patients, to basically what they have, a large population, in order to further your science, this allows them to be more involved and guide you or choose to work with who is working the direction that they want to go in. You do need to use the PLCO biospecimens that they have. Funding for this is $500,000 a year, direct cost up to 5 years, and the next deadline is February 17th, 2016. A quick look at the National Science Foundation, NSF, see which areas are of interest to them and can be used to fund cancer research. So specifically looking at their SBIR mechanism, they're looking for nanotechnology, advanced materials and manufacturing, and in biomedical technologies, diagnostic assays and platforms, drug delivery, medical imaging technologies. Pretty clear to see how this can relate to cancer research and support and further your science. The budget for Phase 1 is $150,000 over 6 months. Phase 2 has $750,000 over 2 years. The deadline is in December of this year. I don't have a specific date for you, but it will be in December. Similarly, there's the STTR. They're looking at similar areas as the SBIR, but they do require an academic collaboration to play a significant intellectual role in conducting each STTR project. Another difference is in the funding, where Phase 1 is $150,000 for over 1 year as opposed to 6 months in the SBIR. Phase 2 remains the same, Phase 2 is $750,000 over 2 years. Again, this STTR from the NSF also has a December deadline. Okay, so Department of Defense has a very interesting mechanism, it's an excellent funding opportunity called the CDMRPs, Congressionally Directed Medical Research Programs. They have quite a large budget. It's really good. They have awards up to $5 million, and some programs cover clinical trials as well. In this year's budget, what they had for cancer was breast cancer research program, a budget of $120 million, lung cancer $10.5 million, ovarian cancer at $20 million, prostate at $80 million, and peer-reviewed cancer research program at $50 million. The part about the CDMRPs, while they are fantastic, is that you have to get past the pre-application stage. So you need to submit a white paper, usually about 2 pages long, but it could be up to 10, and you need to really condense the significance of your science into that short document, which sounds easy, but it's not always so easy. It takes a lot of work. Make sure that you're hitting all of the topics, to make sure that you're presenting to them why your science is worthy of funding in this short document. But if you get past there and you're invited to submit the full application, you're almost at home base. You've got a lot higher chance. Goes through a further review and then goes into the budget negotiations and hopefully funding. Now, they are once-a-year program. It is a once-a-year program, usually announced in March or April, and the deadlines. They announce the solicitations in around March or April. The deadlines usually are in the early to mid-summer. So all of the deadlines have passed. You will need to stay tuned for the next, except for the CDMRP Breast Cancer Research Program Breakthrough Award Level 3 has been reissued. Budgets are up to $2.5 million, up to 5 years. This is looking for advanced translational studies that have potential for near-term clinical investigation, and small-scale clinical trials may apply as well. The pre-application deadline is September 18th. If this is your field, don't hesitate. Look into it. See if you can, if it's relevant to you, and get your pre-application in there. Again, this is a funding mechanism that funds clinical trials. So again, don't delay. Get the pre-app out. Funding levels 1 and 2, earlier stages of development, are also expected to be reissued in late August. So keep your ears open for that. We will be announcing that when it happens. If we're in touch, hopefully let us know if that's your area, and we'll work with you on that. Okay, so those are the areas we looked at today. Now I wanted to just discuss for a minute the NIH review process. Putting it simply, in reviewing and considering whether to fund your application, what the reviewers are looking at is the pros and cons, strengths and risks. The main two things they're looking at is responsiveness and competitiveness. If you're responsive to the solicitation, and this goes back again to how we work and helping you identify the relevant opportunities. You need to make sure that you're relevant to the opportunities, to what is being to what the scope is. If no matter how good your science is, if you're not responsive to the solicitation, you will not be awarded. Usually that's the easy part. You check, see what they're looking for, make sure that's what you're doing. And are you competitive? So looking competitive, we have this nice graphic here so you can kind of visualize it. They're looking at 5 specific areas. The significance of your research to public health, if it is innovative and will make a change, if you have the right environment to support the work you propose, and do you have the right leadership and team in place to successfully lead such a project? Does your PI have the right expertise, knowledge, experience to manage the project, and not just scientifically? They're handing you over a large sum of money, and they want to make sure that from a budgetary perspective, that you can manage the funds that they're giving you and make sure to meet the milestones. And about the milestones, make sure that your scientific approach is strong. Make sure that you have that you're able to meet your goals, to meet the milestones. Are they attainable? Are they quantitative? And in case you don't meet the milestones, do you have contingency plans? Overall, the most important thing here is that top-notch science will win awards. Again, just taking a step back, see how what our approach is to non-dilutive funding and to maximizing your chances for award. Again, make sure to know the interests of the agency. Not just what they're looking for now, but also what have they done in the past? What have they looked at? And how you can therefore focus your project application. Make sure that it is comprehensive. Make sure that it's presented in the best way so that it has the highest chance of being favorably reviewed. And keep in mind that the NIH does not fund companies or labs. They're funding projects. You want to make sure that your proposal is not coming across to reviewers as overly ambitious or unrealistic. Looking at the budget, make sure you ask for what's necessary. Don't ask for too much or for too little. Having an accurate budget shows that you're realistic, that you understand your project. And make sure to present a complete project. If you have research collaborations, whether or not the mechanism requires it, or if there's a gap in your capabilities, take on consultants, statisticians, outsource work that you may be less proficient at or don't have the expertise or resources to complete. Leverage your research collaborations. And again, just going back to targeting the right mechanism, make sure that the mechanisms that are there have the right budget. There's different pockets of money for industry as well as academic. You want to make sure to identify and target what's best for your project. It's important to understand the differences of awards and success rates. Understand the different funding levels, match them to your requirements and needs. And of course, you conduct a thorough strategic assessment. Make sure that you understand completely what your objectives are and how they fit with what funding agencies are looking to do. What do you have in your pipeline now? What do you have in the works for later on? And what's the potential of success for each of your research projects? These are questions that do need to be considered. All of this should be done with the goal of creating a multi-submission granting strategy in order to increase your chances of award. So I just want to share a minute about our FreeMind team, our professionals. We do have, sorry, it is updated, we do have 50 full-time employees now. A large number of those are analysts and grant managers or writers. You can see here our professional leaders, our analysts and the heads of our different teams. And I do want to just thank Dr. Ina Grodzowski for her help today in preparing today's webinar. Really a great team. They're all a pleasure to work with, and I hope that you feel the same way. Hopefully we'll be able to work together. Looking at our professional process for a moment, we do basically the steps I outlined in how you can maximize your chance of winning awards. We do this for you. We help you identify the different opportunities available. Our analysts get an understanding. We work with a long-term strategic approach, working with you on identifying the opportunities, looking at specific solicitations, looking at the unsolicited opportunities, and we do have the project production process. We work with you on the actual production of the different grants, work with you on the budgets, and until we're both happy with it and we put that out. And this is kind of another schematic just to show you how we work, what it is that we look at from on your side, how we working with you on a multi-submission strategy, and then our project managers will work with you on the actual grant production and submissions. Again, we don't write the applications for our clients, but we work with our clients to write it. It's kind of a ping-pong process, back and forth, ongoing feedback aimed at ultimately generating a single coherent presentation for each of the applications for each of the opportunities that are targeted. So I think that's about it. Thank you again for your time and for joining us today. I have a couple of questions that came in, so I will try to answer them all. It looks like some might be specific, so we'll be able to discuss those separately. Yes, so there's a question here about private cancer foundations. We do work with private foundations where relevant, so that is definitely an option that we can look at. Definitely Komen is a good foundation to look at, but we do focus specifically in non-dilutive. So if they're asking for any matching funds or any equity, we're not going to focus on that, but we will guide you in the non-dilutive. Non-U.S. organizations, yes, non-U.S. organizations are definitely eligible for the majority of the opportunities that are out there. I did discuss the SBIR and STTRs briefly today. Those are not available for non-U.S. organizations. but the R01s, R21s, CDMRPs, those are, and many other opportunities out there in the non-dilutive funding landscape. We did have a webinar on non-dilutive funding for non-US applicants. Please feel free to contact me and I will send you the link to the recording for that. Okay. Academic collaborations. So there was an opportunity that I discussed that does require an academic collaboration, and of course STTRs are tech transfers, so those are coming out of universities. Other than the ones who have specific requirements for an academic collaboration, it is not necessary. If you have it, that's great. Leverage it. You use the resources that your colleagues or collaborators have, but it is not necessary. Okay. I see here a couple of specific questions. Oh, yes, of course. This webinar is being recorded. Like the others, it will be available on YouTube. And I'll send out the slide deck for you all so that you can review at your leisure. Please feel free to share with your colleagues and friends. We'd be happy to get in touch. Again, any other specific questions that you may have, please contact me directly, or I will contact you for any questions that I see here. And I think that's it. Okay, I see another question came in. That's something that we can discuss separately. So that's all. I thank you all for joining me today, and I hope you enjoyed our FreeMind Summer School series. We look forward to being in touch with you and to sharing more educational conversations and webinars. Thanks very much, and we'll be in touch.